It's that time of year where I update you on my current list of dream watches. Not the $1 million Gribble Force I could never ever dream of affording, but the watches which if I saved for a long time, maybe sold some other watches and maybe donated a kidney, I might actually end up buying. High and low, let's dive in. The list the last time was JLC Reverso Chrono, Panomatic Luna, Milgaus, Ploprof Summer Blue, Kudo K from Louis Erard, Zenith Annual Calendar, Ming Monolith, a Seagull 1963, a 5226 from Patek, and a Chopard XPS Forest Green, and finally a Tudor Marine Nationale in blue. Of all of those, the Panomatic Luna is out. I've seen the calendar model and I like it more, but it just doesn't exist in steel. The Ploprof is out. My obsession with an oversized watch that I'll never wear is gone. The Zenith Annual Calendar, Honeymoon, is also over. The Seagull is out. I loaned a friend's model and it was so hopelessly inaccurate, and if I turned the crown too fast, it would displace the hands, so it's gone. The XPS Forest Green is also out. As usual, it's a dress watch I fell in love with and then out of when I at some point realized I wouldn't wear it that often. That means though that the JLC Reverso Chrono is still in. This watch has been on the list for almost 3 years now. I've been coveting it from afar and I think it's easy to understand why. This is one of the larger steel reversos. I know this size works well for me. How do I know? Because I have one in the exact same size. It works well for me. It's got a pristine blue dial on the front and a skeletonized chronograph on the back as the second face. And that's just a key selling point. It's 2 watches in one, and I'm closer than ever because the secondary prices are starting to be in a range where I think it makes sense to get it. I know from my usage stats that it will get worn, but it has to be at secondary pricing. $30,000 is just ridiculously expensive. I know for a fact that half of you that are watching this video are not subscribed to this channel. I am really trying to build a community of people that enjoy talking about and discussing watches. So if you want to support me just a teeny tiny bit and you do enjoy my content, click the subscribe button. Thanks a ton. The Rolex Milgaus is still on the list. I have this continued naive dream that this is the year where Rolex reintroduces the Milgaus. It is, after all, an anniversary year. That doesn't necessarily mean anything in Rolex context. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. But the Milgaus to me was one of, if not the last Rolex that still had a functional vibe to it. The whole massive anti-magnetism thing plus the lightning seconds hands has in recent years felt very un-Rolex to me. If they had to convince me to buy it, they would need to return with a matte sandblasted bracelet. There should be no polished center links. The Z Blue dial should still be there because, you know, that's where you have a technical engineer's watch. And then they should throw that new 5 Hz Siloxy movement into it. I haven't ended up going secondary. I've been really, really close, but every time I've seen one, the condition of the watch hasn't been what I wanted. I don't like other people's scratches, and I don't want my first action to be to go down to Rolex to have it polished. Tudor is also still on my list, the Marine Nationale FXD in blue. I've got the black one. It's in my top 5 most worn watches. Honestly, getting the blue bottle would be stupid. It's literally the same watch that I already have, just in blue. But I've really come to appreciate the FXD and these more tool-forward types of dive watches in general. This blue model has this level of pop that I can easily see as a contrast to the black model. One is just more fun and the other is not formal, but more serious. It's 42 millimeters, fixed lug, strap only. It's a winner of a watch, and I do admit that the military connection grows on me. First new watch. Some of you may know that I own the CW12. It's the regular model, waffle dial. It's in the bank vault at the moment, so I've got no picture. But I want the big brother. I want the Chapek Antique Passage de Drake blue. And we're talking about close to $26,000–$30,000 for the Chapek. For those of you that don't know, some of the people that worked on the Christopher Ward 12 were also involved in the design and development of the Chapek Antique, notably a guy called Adrian Buchman. That's why the 2 watches in part have so many similarities. I like both watches, but any dimwit that thinks that these 2 watches are equivalent is smoking some serious crack pipe. The face and the bracelet are, in my mind, equally beautiful, not equally finished, but equally beautiful. They each have their unique personalities, but it's the movement and the overall detailing of the Chapek Antique that takes it to a whole other level. To me, it's one of the most beautiful, non-complicated movements out there. Micro rotors are great because they expose the rest of the movement. This rotor has got this chunky, I think it's tungsten rotor, that just I think adds to that industrial aesthetic of the movement. And then you've got these multiple mini bridges, each holding a single gear. Normally you just throw on a big old 3/4 plate or a barrel bridge that just hides everything. Here, they've put so much work into exposing as much as possible. They also do this gray, blackish, grayish color to the plates and bridges, which is just a ton more modern and more interesting than a regular plated silver color with blued screws. It's a gorgeous watch. I mean, what can I say? The Chapek Louis is still on the list. The reason I haven't pulled the trigger though is that I've been going back and forth with the Louis Constantine Chaikin collabs. They are perpetually sold out, but the Chaikin just keeps growing on me. And it's not as out there as a full-on Chaikin watch, but it's not a subtle watch. The dark black one with red monster subdials is the one I bounce back and forth between. It's just fun, it's different, and it's very honest. I'm also clearly in an integrated bracelet phase because the Trilob 32 is also on the list. I've been following Trilob for a while. They won a GPHG award for the Nuit Fantastique a couple of years back, and the Trilob 32 is essentially the concept of that watch migrated onto an integrated bracelet. Trilob are this small brand with a small manufacturer in Paris that make this off-center dial design that is, in the realm of Restance kind of layouts. They have a very different interpretation of how you read time. The dial is just fascinating, and the reason it's on the list is I've been developing my taste a bit in terms of non-conventional dial interpretations. The Chapek essentially does the same thing. It takes a different approach to telling time. On top of that, they've also made their own movement. It's got a Breguet-esque look to it. It's Spartan in design. It almost feels like, a Breguet pocket watch movement. It's gold or gold colored. That's also a thing that keeps it in my head rent-free. I've really started turning watches over more and more. Perlage, Côte de Genève just doesn't do it enough for me. It needs to be more than that. Then I want a Ming monolith. It's sold out. It's hard to find, but the guys over at Ming are doing something really special. I would love to meet their front man. He's doing some amazing stuff with manufacturing, both with movements, but especially with cases and dials. This is a brand and a front man that are blazing a path when it comes to really cutting edge manufacturing innovations. Ming also have this one bracelet that's a 3D printed titanium bracelet, and it's called Polymesh. And you could have a whole video just talking about that bracelet. Basically, it's 3D printed. And the fact is, just as a curiosity, I think one of the best 3D printed titanium cases in the world right now is the Apple case. I'm not saying it's good looking or whatever, but it's really, really technically impressive what they do with their 3D printing. You should watch some videos about it. And the stuff that Ming are doing with this bracelet is equally manufacturing-wise super, super exciting. Then there's the Gerald Genta Orsine in Fire Opal. It won a GPHG award. Just kidding. I still hate that watch. It's hideous. Never liked it. Don't understand why people like it. The 5226 though from Patek is still on the dream list. To me, it's the upscale Hamilton Murph. It's got a beautiful movement. It's got Clou de Paris case flanks. It's got a textured dial, and it's just got a pristine level of finishing. It's not entirely to the degree of the really high-end Patek movements. Patek do put differing levels of finishing effort into their watches, reserving the best work for their highest end models. But this watch isn't a slouch. It wears exceptionally well, and it has a substantial weight to it. I just have to gather up the nerve to walk into the Patek boutique and maybe put a mask on so they don't know it's me, and then ask to buy it. Then the King Seiko SJE 121, 39.4mm stainless steel case. It has a box-shaped sapphire crystal. It's got brushed and mirror polished facets for a sharp look. It's got a supple multi-link bracelet, which is pretty decent by Seiko standards. The watch is powered by the caliber 6L35. It's a thin, high-grade automatic movement that operates with 45 hours of power reserve. The dial is this gray gradient dial with an engraved motif. It's a simple, beautiful watch. I suppose it's more of a retro sports watch, kind of like the Longine Ultrachron. It's been a while since I've considered a Seiko. Last Seiko I bought was the Uemura. This one does a little of what that watch does as well. It's that special case, and Seiko do really nice dials for their price points. I think it's about $3,500 for this watch. The second to last watch is from the brand I consider the value leader at the moment. It's the titanium version of the Longine Magitech. I reviewed the steel version of the Magitech almost 2 years ago, and I think the only reason I never jumped on it was because of the Photina dial. But with the titanium model, it has that monochrome look that I really often gravitate towards. It's a bit of a big watch, but not bigger than any IWC Big Pilot, and it's very much in the same vein. The Magitek is a watch that was originally made for the Czech Air Force, so this is a pilot's watch. The bezel rotates and the pointer triangle moves with it, so that does something for headings or something. I don't know, I'm not a pilot. How do I know? And I'm never, ever going to use it. Close to $6,000 is a lot for a Longine. It's on the expensive side, but I don't think it's unreasonable for the specific model. But I have been waiting for a good deal to show up at a grey dealer somewhere. Then there's the final watch, which is the ceramic Zenith Defy. There's currently a white model available with a blue skeletonized dial and a recently released black model with golden skeletonized dial. Zenith do some of the very best skeleton dials at this price range or below. They just understand how to do skeletonization without compromising too much on legibility. I haven't had hands-on with the black model, so it's that new. Nevertheless, Zenith, they have their high beat movement. Zenith also do a really good job with ceramics. This isn't some Chinese ceramic that's been thrown in a tumbler where the edges have been completely rounded. This is machine done, and it gives you clearly defined edges and clear transitions. It's got almost no weight. It does feel fragile, and in a way, ceramic is fragile. They can shatter, but I've never heard of it happening in real world use. But there's just something so technically impressive about ceramic and a highly accomplished movement. It's expensive, very expensive. By now, you're probably ready to state that I am getting very, very expensive taste in my watches. And in a way, I am. The problem is, for both the Zenith, the 5226, the Chapek, the JLC, and the Trilob, I find myself more and more looking towards watches where the movement is more of a centerpiece. I've got my own fair share of very good looking, very functional, affordable watches with a functional Sellita SW200 with a custom rotor. And the fact is, specifically when it comes to movements, that just drives the price up significantly. Cases and bracelets are of a very high standard below $3,000. They're not identical, but the standards are super high. The movements are rarely manufactured movements, and even then, they're not always aesthetically that impressive. There are exceptions, but the more you start appreciating this side of watchmaking, the more it's going to push you up the price funnel. Ming, Kudoke are relatively speaking more affordable, but again, you can see that they're not your standard middle-of-the-road watches. I mean, really the only totally middle-of-the-road watch in this lineup, or three of them, is the FXD, the King Seiko, and the Magitek, which, are slightly more conventional. But it is this movement aesthetic that's dominating my thoughts. And these are some of the watches that, I think might scratch the itch with the exception of the Patek, because paying anything for precious metal just has a massive premium to it. I also dream of a Breguet 7225, but it's never going to happen. I think they're things like 69,000 euros, way too expensive. But again, that's also a technically and artistically phenomenal movement, plus a gorgeous pocket watch inspired dial. So those are the watches on my list. What's on your list? And knowing me, what should I be looking at that I'm not? Share in the comments, like, subscribe. Cheers.